The first movie in James Gunn's DCU, Superman Legacy, is so far having a very smooth production. It was announced only 6 months ago and already has 6 characters cast, from the main characters of David Cornsweet as Superman and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, to non-Superman related characters like Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, and Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho. In addition to these 6 characters, there are also 4 more characters who have already been confirmed to be appearing, like Perry White and Crypto the Superdog, as well as the focuses of this video, Jimmy Olsen and Lex Luthor, who have not been officially cast, but do have some very strong hints and rumors to one actor for each, who seems to almost be practically confirmed to be playing these 2 characters, and one of these castings is very interesting. On July 21st, 2023, Scooper My Time to Shine Hello posted a gif of Skyler Gisondo and then replied to this with an image of Jimmy Olsen, starting the rumor that Skyler was either in talks to play Jimmy or was already cast prior to the actor's strike, and 6 days later, another Scooper, Daniel RPK, scooped basically the same thing, that Skyler Gisondo was the top choice to play Jimmy Olsen before the actor's strike, and it's possible he already got the role. Finally, a weekend change later after that, James Gunn followed Skyler on Instagram. All of this seems kind of cut and dry, nothing's been officially confirmed, but for 2 different scoopers to say the same thing right before James Gunn follows this very Jimmy Olsen looking person on Instagram makes it extremely likely that it is indeed true. I haven't seen Skyler Gisondo in much, just literally 1 episode of The Real Bros of Simi Valley where he only really appeared in 1 scene, where he played someone who doesn't remind me of Jimmy Olsen at all, but that's not really the best place to judge him. People all purposely speak very crazily on that show, and it was 5 years ago. If nothing else, in the 1 scene he was in, he was kind of funny. Skyler is 27 years old, which is 6 years younger than Rachel Brosnahan, 3 years younger than David Cornsweet, so that fits of being younger than those 2, and obviously looks-wise, he definitely fits the classic ginger Jimmy Olsen look, which is something that they've never really done before. I mean, he's always either brunette or even changed to being black, so him actually being ginger is actually not very common. The actor is also kind of jacked, which makes me think that he could also be cast as an actual superhero like Wally West, but I think there's a common misconception that Jimmy is supposed to be ugly or super nerdy, but Jimmy has a very long comic history of dating a lot of women, so just based on looks, I think Skyler Gisondo would be a great casting for Jimmy Olsen, although I can't actually speak on his acting prowess or actually fitting the role all too well. I'm sure James Gunn is going to cast the best person for the role. But what's way more interesting to me is this second casting. On April 18th, 2023, when James Gunn posted an image of his Superman Legacy script to Instagram, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia star and co-creator Glenn Howerton commented, "This is very exciting." Despite this being all the way back in April, I haven't talked about it in a video because, well, it doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own. What I will say though is that when I did see this for the first time, my first thought was, if I had to cast Glenn Howerton in Superman Legacy, it'd probably be as Lex Luthor, and in fact, thinking about it a bit more, I realized that would actually be a fantastic casting. Adding mild fuel to the fire is the fact that James Gunn follows Glenn Howerton on Twitter, and actually almost cast him as Star-Lord, which is something that will come up again later in this video. Adding significant fuel to this particular fire comes yet again from Glenn Howerton on Instagram, this time far more recently. This is the reason I'm making this video. On August 12th, Glenn posted a fan art of himself as Lex Luthor with the caption, "Whoa," to his story on Instagram. Around the same time, James Gunn also started following him on Instagram, which altogether was more than enough to make this a very real possibility, and I'm a huge It's Always Sunny fan. It's genuinely my favorite sitcom, probably my second favorite TV show of all time, and Glenn Howerton as Dennis Reynolds is undoubtedly the single best actor and single best performance on the show overall. His comedic timing is impeccable, his line delivery is legendary, and as Dennis Reynolds, he's so good at playing a character who is as charismatic, manipulative, calculating, rage-filled, and disturbingly sinister as Lex Luthor needs to be, alongside simply being a really good actor. On top of this, Glenn proved very recently in his role in Blackberry that he's willing to shave his head for a role, and based off of this Instagram post, it seems like he might want to. I mean, take his look in that movie and shave shave the sides off, and he could definitely pass as Lex Luthor. There is a relatively large age gap of 17 years between himself and David Corenswet, which is the biggest thing going against him. They definitely wouldn't be able to incorporate Lex and Clark's shared Smallville background, and they might be pushing it with the gap here in terms of their rivalry. If I were to fan cast someone as Lex Luthor, it'd probably be someone who isn't more than 10 years older than David Corenswet. On the flip side though, I do think that Glenn Howerton could probably pass as a few years younger than he is, and also if he's good enough, then I could probably let go of the age having to be close in favor of something a bit different and in favor of something that is still really good, because again, I do think he could fit the role perfectly. Nicholas Hoult was apparently in the running for Luthor around the same time they were casting for Superman and Lois. He was also apparently in the running for Superman, but this would kind of maybe contradict the casting of Glenn Howerton, because he commented on James Gunn's Instagram post before Hoult was apparently in the running, in addition to the fact that he's 14 years older than Hoult, so I mean, like, what is the age range they're looking for? Additionally, Gunn tweeted this out a month after he posted the Superman Legacy script, saying that for now, only one person has been cast in Superman Legacy, but that isn't one of the regular players in the Superman world. So, not Lex Luthor, but maybe Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, Hawkgirl, or Guy Gardner. Very coincidentally, Gunn revealed in this very tweet that Glenn Howerton, alongside Zachary Levi, auditioned for Star-Lord and was a top choice before Chris Pratt got the role, which may be a hint, maybe not, but either way, James Gunn almost cast him in something. He could very well do that again. There are clearly some things pointing against Glenn having been cast as Lex Luthor. Maybe he's just been in talks and was cast later, or maybe he's trying to convey that he really wants the role. Either way, he definitely won't be announced to be cast until at least the actor's strike ends, but also either way, it's about time that Glenn Howerton gets a big film role, and while he's been fan cast as Reed Richards quite a lot, which can work, I do think he'd be a better fit for Lex Luthor. Also, I think it'd be really funny if they film a season of It's Always Sunny close after the filming of a Lex Luthor appearance, and so Dennis lost his hair. That'd be such an interesting direction to take this vain, self-absorbed, looks-obsessed Dennis Reynolds, where he just loses his hair. I mean, imagine what they could do with that. Sticking to the topic of casting, it's been pretty unclear as to whether or not Gal Gadot specifically will be kept over from the DCEU as the DCU's Wonder Woman, and recently Gal Gadot had some things to say about this. It started on August 2nd when Gal said in an interview, "I love portraying Wonder Woman, it's so close and dear to my heart. From what I heard from James and Peter is that we're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together." A few days later, she doubled down in another interview saying, "I was invited to a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and what they told me, and I'm quoting here, 'You're in the best hands, we're going to develop Wonder Woman 3 with you. We love you as Wonder Woman, you've got nothing to worry about, so time will tell.'" The internet had a pretty big reaction to this, and I honestly can't blame them. Gal was pretty great initially, but not only are Superman and Batman being recast, hopefully the Flash, and a lot of the rest of the universe is as well, most characters are, but also Gal as Wonder Woman took a nosedive in quality in the last few years. First there was the awful Wonder Woman 1984, then the worst part of Zack Snyder's Justice League was Wonder Woman, or more specifically the fact that they played the Themyscirian music every time she did something, and most recently her terrible back-to-back cameos in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and finally The Flash. It seems like it would make by far the most sense to recast the role and not make things more confusing, maybe a bit thankfully. An article then came out on August 10th officially confirming that what Gal Gadot has been saying is actually either false, or I guess she had misinformation, or she understood a meeting wrong. There is not going to be a Wonder Woman 3, and in fact there's no Wonder Woman property in development right now aside from what we already knew, which is Paradise Lost, and this kind of brings us back to where we were before all of Gal Gadot's comments, knowing that the only confirmed Wonder Woman project is Paradise Lost, and not knowing whether or not Gal Gadot will be remaining in the role, but at this point, it seems likely that she probably won't be, and that is something that I would prefer. Honestly, I would personally prefer they recast everyone just to make a full clean slate and have nothing be confusing, but if they are going to keep couple characters around, I don't think Gal Gadot should honestly be one of them. So that is it for this video. 3 different DCU characters and the actors associated with them in varying degrees of validity. Gal Gadot sticking around as Wonder Woman, probably not happening and hopefully not happening. Skyler Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, probably happening. And Glenn Howerton as Lex Luthor, maybe happening, but I'm hoping it is. And so if you like this video, make sure to share it or like it or whatever. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.